Sure, now you want attention, don't you? Hi there. Welcome once again, everybody, to Cast Iron Wednesday. For those of you who might be turning into this show for the first time, I'm sure you know that a lot of the smaller cooking channels on YouTube have something of a tradition in that many times on Wednesday they do a cast iron video, whether it's about cooking in cast iron, collecting, caring, or restoring cast iron, or just taking care of it. It's become something of a tradition here on YouTube, and that's why they call it Cast Iron Wednesday. And I'm proud to say I've been part of this myself. I've been doing this now for good grief. Can it be really a year and a half or so? Apparently it can. So, and nonetheless, though, the main reason why I do this is largely because of you folks who like showing up here every week. Hello, everybody, to Dr. M and Celtic Cast Iron. William Hurt, hello, nice to see you. David Craig and Mitchell Parker and LT Cat. JD Hive 4, hello to everyone. And yes, we've seen that giant large skillet. Yeah. And Jamie says hi. And yes, I know. Lodge produced this gigantic cast iron skillet that weighs about 7 tons, about 14,000 pounds. Apparently, this is going to be the centerpiece in a cast iron museum that they are building down there in South Pittsburgh. And so they took some video of it being trucked down the highway. And yeah, of course, that thing has shown up all over the place. On the Cast Iron Cooking Group, I think that video has been reposted more than 100 times, and I am not exaggerating. So, yeah, we definitely have seen that big cast iron pan. So it's like, as you say, so how many eggs do you cook in that? Yes. So, anyway, now I got an announcement I have to close out. Okay. All right, but anyway, as I said, I'm really grateful to everybody here who has shown up, especially since, as you know, I'm sure a lot of you know, tonight we are doing a giveaway contest. Yes, once again, we've got folks gathered here and here in the live, and the giveaway contest has started really once the moment this video went live, and the contest will end when the live video ends. So that means posting the secret word in the comments to this video does not count. It actually has to be posted here in the chat. So, but yes, as I mentioned, this is what the fifth, I think, giveaway contest I've held. Each one of these now, I have to conform to YouTube standards in order to make this an official contest. Namely, I have to announce a couple of things, one of which is the sponsor of this contest. And the sponsor of this video is myself. Cast Iron Chaos, EW Motomac. I am not being sponsored by any company or service or website or anything like that. In that I'm actually, and that these the prizes that I'm giving away tonight is actually coming out of my own cast iron collection. These are pieces that I've collected over the last few years or so. So this is not meant as anything really, except of course to promote my channel. I mean, I very much encourage folks to, well, as they say, click that subscribe button. And I do hope you do keep coming back for the times when I do these videos here, because that certainly helps me out as well. The official rules also state that if the prize being given here is over $600 in value, then I have to report that's the IRS. And fortunately, I can say that is not the case. Not just the fact that I found these pans for something of a steal, but also because well, just that. I don't think it's likely that you could sell these even on eBay for $600. So that's the very basics of it. In that, yes, as I mentioned, for this particular video, we are in fact giving away a set of 3 so-called ugly hammered cast iron skillets. And the rules are, of course, that you have to, as I mentioned, please subscribe to my channel. one person did not follow that rule. And so when he was actually chosen as the winner, he never found out. He never got the announcement, unfortunately, because he had not followed the rules and did not subscribe to this channel. Then the other thing, of course, is at some point here during this live chat, you do have to at least once type the secret word into this into the chat area here, because that's how we are managing the contest. I have a little bot that is recording the chat here so that we can keep track of everybody who has really typed in the secret word in this chat at least once. You can type it more than once, but that's really not necessary. As long as we get the secret word typed in at least once, then you will be entered into the contest. It has to be a word, by the way, no, not a number as well. I should mention that as well. Yeah, this is kind of like as a tribute to this wonderful winter weather we've been having. I mean, I know, for instance, they've really been getting socked with one of those so-called historic nor'easters or sou'easters, I guess, in the southeastern United States, as well as out in the Midwest, where they can consider, where a lot of times they consider that business as usual. We have not been hit quite as hard here in New England. We had our first so-called major snowstorm only a few days ago, last Friday, and even then, even by New England standards, that really didn't amount to very much. We had maybe about 3 to 4 inches of snow, and really here in New England, that that doesn't even count yet. Of course, we still have a couple of months to go, and so who knows? I personally am not fond of the winter weather myself, so if that's all the snow we get, quite frankly, I'm not going to be complaining. But as I said again, hello to everybody. Hello, Camden John finally made it on, and Christine Borgatti. Now I can say hi to everyone. Hi to Christine Borgatti and Vasil, if I'm pronouncing this right, Greku, and Eric McClinton. And Cheryl Yankee, raining cats and dogs most of the day. It's sure going to be interesting in the South, that's for sure. And again, William Hurt. And yes, oh yeah, and now having said all that, I think we should really get down to the business of showing the prize that we'll be winning here. So let's turn our camera down here and let's take a look, shall we, at a set. Oh, this, by the way, is a large Dutch oven. This is not part of it. We have a set of 3 so-called ugly hammered cast iron pans. These are actually pretty well known in the cast iron community, and they're actually not too difficult to find for you, no matter where you are in the country, although they seem to be more common here in the northern United States. And these indeed are of an unknown maker. That's a story in itself, in that there are several, actually a large number of unknown cast iron pans out there that were made by unknown manufacturers, and we really have not been able to identify who made these, so we just give these pans funny names. This is generally described as ugly, not my name, but that's the general word for it, largely because it does have a rather, I guess you could say, crude and primitive type of look, because you can see the outline here on all around the side of the pan, that where it looks as though the mold may have been beaten with a hammer before casting. However, the insides of these pans are very, very smooth, and they do make for very good cookers as well. They're also very heavy and very thick. So, interestingly enough, somehow, and I don't know how, this number 3 pan here is actually something of a spinner, and I couldn't believe it either. But even so, I was not about to pass that by when I had a chance to get that for a few bucks. Also, here we have a number 5. Both of these have been heating up on the stovetop already, which are not spinners. We have a number 5 here, which is the usual, roughly about 8 inches or so in size. And then, in addition, we have the latest number in this set, which is a number 8. And this is a full-size 10-inch cast iron skillet. This is amazingly heavy. This thing I found out is about almost exactly the same size as a large skillet, in that a large lid will fit on this thing like a glove, and that's actually might be a good reason to own one of these. On the other hand, it has a rather small handle, and thing is amazingly heavy. This may very well be one of the thickest and heaviest cast iron pans you may ever hold in your hand. It is, yes, I would say it is even heavier than a modern day lodge. So if you like light and thin vintage cast iron, well, this is not one of them. I will say that. So, and having said that, yeah, a peg too. Is the look kind of craftsman inspired, i.e., dating the style? Well, it's hard to say. But nonetheless, I figured we should put this thing through its paces. So let's get started here. As I'm not sure if I mentioned or not, my intention for tonight is let's do some patty melts, shall we? It's nice and easy. We've got some delicious burgers, and that means, of course, with patty melts. Oh yeah, this is definitely hot enough. That's for sure. Maybe too hot. I better check the temperature. In fact, with patty melts here, that means we're going to be doing beef and starting out with a bunch of caramelized onions. The thing about caramelizing onions, of course, is that you start out with a huge amount of caramelized onions, and these things are going to shrink considerably as they cook. So that even though I really just about filled this pan with onions, by the time they're done, we should have, I hope, a decent amount of caramelized onions, but not as, but maybe about, oh, I don't know, maybe about a quarter of the amount that we are seeing here in terms of volume. I guess we'll find out. Oh yes, I will be light on this. I mean, I'm not. Yeah, I'll be keeping these separate so that we only need to put as much as we want on these. Right, right. Not to worry. Yeah, no, not to worry. Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, it does take a few minutes, of course, to caramelize onions, and that's the thing. If we want real caramelized onions, this may take about 10 to 15 minutes or so. Um, or maybe even longer, depending, of course, on the type of pan you're using. However, especially because this pan is so thick and heavy, that could very well mean that this has absorbed a lot of heat, and this should help cook these onions that much faster, or at least I certainly hope so. Um, okay, I guess at this point, let's say a little bit more about ugly hammered. Now, I mentioned already why they are called ugly hammered pans, because they have the hammered look on them. Nobody has been able to identify the manufacturer, which is very odd, isn't it? There are, you consider, there are a lot of these pans out there, and I mean a lot. That they're not especially hard to find if you look long enough in your hunt for vintage cast iron. And yet, for some reason, there don't seem to be any records at all of who made these, which is, as I said, extremely odd. I mean, while there are actually newspaper ads for kitchen cookware sets, which oftentimes show pictures, drawings of these that are definitely these pans because of the unique, oh, that's hot, because of the unique handle design, as well as the hammered look. There's never any indication of the supplier or where these pans came from. That's why there is a somewhat popular rumor, which has not been confirmed, and I don't know if it will ever be confirmed, that these pans were actually made by prison labor. This is actually a fairly common rumor with just about any and all of those unknown cast iron pans. We've got these ugly hammered pans. If you move more towards the south of the United States, we've got a lot of those unknown skillets that they call Southern mystery skillets. They have a specific design that looks similar but not quite the same as a really, really early lodge pan, the SMS, Southern mystery skillets. And they say the same thing about those. It may be a theory that they may have been made by prison labor. Likewise, there are also a few those gigantic cast iron skillets, the ones that are marked number 16, not even 14, but 16, and even ones that are a few out there that are marked number 20. And the same rumors are still going around that they may have been made by prison labor. Why is prison labor so common or so popular a rumor for it? Well, I guess largely because of the amount of these pans that were made. I mean, these pans would have to have been made by some kind of manufacturer. It's not like somebody set up one small company or did them all in his backyard and spent his entire life pumping out an enormous number of cast iron pans that all look the same. That doesn't make sense. So, and of course, back in those days, all of these pans, even the fancier ones from Lodge or Griswold or Wagner, they were just frying pans. Nobody really considered these things to be special. Although, of course, Griswold did still set up something of a name for itself by being an elite type of cookware. By the way, you notice how these things have already shrunk considerably. It's only been a few minutes, and it's nowhere near filling up as much volume as it was in the pan before. But I want to go all the way here and get us some nice purple or transparent caramelized onions. So we're in what may be the first or second stage, but we are not done with these yet. So, especially the theory goes is that prison laborers, of course, they did not really keep that many records as far as actual production of these pans are concerned. And it may very well be that those records could have been lost over time too. So considering that, I guess that may be one reason why the rumor of prison labor is is so popular. Now, prison labor, of course, it could be argued would be really exploiting labor, namely that in a way you might be even calling it what's a good word, slave labor. I don't know if we're going quite that far, but that, of course, is an argument that I'm certain that they had back in the early 20th century when they did conscript labor and they actually farmed out labor for cheap items and the like to prison workers. I suppose it could be argued that yes, they were giving them useful skills as they taught them how to make these household items. And of course, as well, of course, businesses love the idea of cheap labor. I mean, one thing I can think of really actually is the movie Schindler's List and how Oscar Schindler started out by taking advantage of cheap labor when he built his his manufacturing plant. That, of course, is a very complicated and ethical argument that I certainly don't have an answer for. I did not live 100 years ago. I do not feel I could make any kind of judgment about the ethics of these things. Um, and likewise, maybe on the same reason, I do not think I could condemn these pans either, even if they were made in unsafe and unfair conditions. The pans themselves, well, really, these are items that those workers made with their own hands. And that is, one way or another, really something that I would actually say might be something to be proud of. So I could not really call for any kind of a boycott of these unknown cast iron pans because there are two sides to the arguments. I mean, this is nowhere near as cut and dried as, say, actual slave labor in the from the 1800s and so forth, which I'm not even going to go into. No, that is a really different subject and something I'm not interested in, nor are you on a channel about cooking. I don't think it is quite the same thing. Maybe in the same ballpark? Well, maybe. But that's really about as far as I'm going to go. And anyway, as we've said, there is no proof that these pans were made with prison labor. I mean, it's speculation, yes, but there is no documentation. There is no proof. I understand that at least one of those giant number 16 skillets has been discovered that actually does have a manufacturer label on it. And even if those were made by prison labor, you can't guarantee that every single one was done in the same way. So, so I do not have enough really to make any kind of an ethical decision in that manner. All I can do is treat these as old cast iron pans, ones that have a nice look to them, ones that cook wonderfully, and as such, that's really not a bad legacy one way or another. So I, for one, would not have any shame or any problem with owning or using this. And yeah, look, by the way, look how much these onions have become caramelized already. And even so, we're only 20 minutes into this live video already. So we're actually not doing too bad. Roadside assistance guy, I have to go off and finish my last of the shift. Oh, well, good luck to you. I do hope you've remembered to type the secret word into this chat so that you can be entered in to the contest. And likewise, again, everybody, as I said, please hit the subscribe button so that once the winner of this contest is determined, you'll be able to be notified of this. And Terry Sinchev, hello everyone. I'm late because I'm setting up a new phone. Oh, well, that's not a bad reason to be late. I mean, after all this is simply a cooking video. Well, if it looks good, we're only in the first stage. We're just caramelizing some onions here. Looks like I've got a few minutes to go, but as I said, we're off to a pretty good start right now, aren't we? You know, I think I'm at the point where I might even be able to throw a little bit more butter into here. You know, get these things nice and moist and buttery. So, okay. Actually, I should not have said that because I'm not telling the truth. This is not butter. It is margarine. Yes, I admit that. I often use margarine for cooking with this kind of thing because it doesn't burn the way butter does, and it still gives a nice flavor to it. And with that, yeah, okay, here's a joke that no, I do not consider this to be sacrilegious. Did you hear the one about the monk who found a picture of Jesus in his tub of margarine? All he could say was, "I can't believe it's not Buddha." Anyway, now let's get back to the subject at hand, shall we? Oh, yes, this is a wok spatula. Yes, a chan. This is used especially for cooking in woks. But as you can see, it's a pretty darn good spatula all on its own as well. So I certainly don't have any problem using it in regular skillets like this. If you do not have one of these kind of spatulas, I really do recommend picking one up. They are not expensive. They're amazingly useful, especially for getting into tight corners. And so I would not hesitate to, excuse me, to recommend this. Comfort food, I certainly hope so. And Christine Borgatti, I love to cook with ghee, but my husband hates the smell. Well, there is that too. So, but anyway, as I mentioned, I have been talking about ugly hammered pans and other kinds of unknown cast iron pans. There have been quite a lot of those pans produced through the 18th through the 19th and early 20th century, when you consider that these were originally considered to be throwaway kitchen items. Well, granted, they're heavy cast iron and they're practically indestructible, so not exactly as throwaway as some items, which is one reason why so many of them have survived to the present era. But that is the reason why so many of these pans, even from Lodge, were not marked with the manufacturer's mark. They did not really hold them in high regard. They were a cheap product that were made, really just that, to at a low cost in order to fulfill a necessary need, frying pans. And they were considered just throwaway and disposable items. When the scrap metal drives of World War I and especially World War II came around and people were donating items to be recycled for the war effort, what was among the first thing that most people got rid of? Frying pans. So, yeah, a lot of old frying pans were lost in those scrap drives, and yeah, they were for a good cause, no denying that. And yet, at the same time, that also means a lot of history was lost, unfortunately. which may or may not contribute to the reason why a lot of these cast iron pans are unknown. And yeah, we're definitely getting into some nice caramelized onions at this point. We're almost at this point, I think. Maybe just a couple more minutes and we may very well be ready. In fact, I think you can even start turning the heat up a little bit. Just a wee bit of char would not be a bad thing. That way it'll be hot enough as well for us to make some burgers. And Al Lefebvre, I have 0 hammered items. Starting to appreciate them. Well, hammered, really, it's a design. It's a nice design. I mean, I don't think there's anything really practical about the hammered design. And personally, I think the hammered design was actually influenced by the Art Deco movement of the 1920s and the 1930s, because there are some similarities, I think, between that and the stylized look of the Art Deco designs. That is one reason why I think these pans likely date to the pre-World War II era. I feel they probably were influenced by that design or by that fad or fashion. And so, as a result, it seems likely, at least in my eyes, that these are, in fact, just that. From the early 20th century, you can tell that actually because even though they were cheaply made, the bottom is completely smooth, has no sign of a gate mark whatsoever. And as well as being thick and heavy. And yet I think the hammered design might actually help to date them to, say, as I said, perhaps 1920s and 1930s. That would be my general guess. But I still have no documentation to prove it otherwise. Really, your guess is as good as mine. To someone at the beginning of this video who commented, I cannot call myself an expert. I do call myself a geek and a nerd, yes, but not an expert. There are, in fact, some self-styled experts out there on the internet who have a lot more encyclopedic knowledge of vintage cast iron than I do. And if you point that out to them, they will be more than happy to correct you on that. Me, all I can do is offer advice on what I know. I do know something, but an expert, well, I don't know. What I do know is that I was lucky enough to find these nice hammered pans at one time or another. I do believe the first 2 were flea market finds, and then this one I actually found at Brimfield last fall. The number 3 is one of those pans that I actually do not remember exactly where I found it, but I have no doubt whatsoever that I could not have paid very much for it because I'm a tightwad when it comes to really my thrifting and flea marketing. So one way or another, I managed to acquire a number 3. And likewise, forgot, that's hot. And likewise, not at some point in the last few years, I then was also lucky enough to acquire a number 5 ugly hammered. This might have been Brimfield. I still can't remember very well. And I've had these for the last few years or so. But what really kind of closed this set was last year at Brimfield when I scored this number 8 here, ugly hammered, for $18. Especially for Brimfield, I thought that was a good price, one that I did not want to walk away from. And so I ended up with a ugly hammered pan. And I used it once, not because I didn't like using it. It worked really well, but how many times have I said this in these videos now? I've got a big enough cast iron collection that it's hard enough for me to use all of my pans as it is. I'm doing my best to rotate through all of them, but I mean, I already have a fair number of number 8 cast iron pans. So considering that, I thought, well, then there's really no reason why I couldn't just give this away. I considered selling it, but I like doing these giveaway contests. You know, the ones where, as I mentioned before, the rules is that you please hit subscribe to to subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to type the secret word at least once in the live chat. It has to be spelled right, and please do not type in a number. Just simply type in a word, whatever word that secret word happens to be. Because, as I said, I'm using an algorithm to identify the word. And well, you're welcome as well. And that's really, I guess, my piece about ugly hammered pans. In that these things are really nice, and I agree that ugly is not a fair word for them, but that it's what has stuck. And anyway, it's really not that bad a way to describe it. When you consider and you get into the grilling and smoking crowd, the people who do a lot of smoking, you know that they've got a version of this in their crowd as well. That would be the ugly drum smoker, the smoker that's been made from by repurposing. That's a good word, or refurbishing a big metal barrel or drum. So they have their ugly, and we have our ugly. And notice, by the way, as I mentioned, this thing you saw how much room in that pan these onions took. Whereas, meanwhile, at this point, we've reached the point that these caramelized onions are definitely taking up a lot less room here, which is fine. That really means I think we're just about the point where we can get these going and get on with cooking ourselves up some patty melts. I made a joke once. It's like the thing. Somebody on the cast iron cooking group was caramelizing onions, and I commented, "Yeah, you know the thing about caramelized onions is you use an entire bag of onions, and you end up with about 1 teaspoon of caramelized onions." And that might be a slight exaggeration, but probably not too much. Still, I'd say we are doing rather nicely here at this point. So, as I mentioned, this is definitely not a spinner. This thing is holding its own even when heated up. This thing is nice and flat. I think it would take a heck of a lot of heat to warp this, but I'm not about to find out, especially not tonight. And Dr. M. Oh, by the way, just sorts them in Excel. Yes, to 1 entry per person. Yes, that's true. Typing the secret word multiple times does not help. It will be filtered out. We ask that you type the secret word at least once. We have had at least one person who won the contest by typing the secret word like maybe about an hour and 40 minutes or so into this. We've had another person who typed the secret word only, well, probably within the first 10 minutes or so. So I try to do my best to be fair to everyone. So, and I certainly hope that works. Will the patty melt be open faced? Well, we'll give it a try. Yeah, I have to say that's one thing as well. I find I'm not an expert at, and that's doing burgers and patty melts. So far, much like my pizzas, my burgers and the patty melts have been okay. They have not been fantastic, but they have been okay. And I'm doing my best, well, to practice and see how well it turns out tonight. Fortunately, I've got a nice pan to practice with. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. Other nice thing about patty melts, of course, is that they're so easy to make. And they're not quite the same as burgers either, I find. Patty melts on one hand are probably where smash burgers came from, or what they call flat patties today. However, one difference is that you don't serve them on burger buns. You simply serve them on bread. And I believe the reason for that is because the patty melt was either popularized or it started, or it started during the Great Depression, where, as you know, food conservation was everything. And we've got ourselves some nice caramelized onions here. So we are off to a start. And having said that, it's about time now to get to the next step here. Roadside assistance, guys. Sorry about that. I did not know you said at least once. That means one. No, not to worry. I mean, as long as you're not spamming the channel, there's nothing to worry about. Camden Lion. Notice Lodge Blacklock iron at Sevierville had much softer, smoother handles than earlier Blacklock skillets. Yes, I mean their new Blacklock series has nothing whatsoever to do with their original Blacklock series. That's definitely the case. The original Blacklock, which nobody can identify because they're another lost pan, is generally believed to have looked a lot like those Southern Mystery skillets, whereas the new Blacklock skillet has a completely different design, and I personally think it was especially meant to compete with the newer elite cast iron makers like Stargazer and Field and the like. All right. Meanwhile, let us get started and throw ourselves on some ground beef, shall we? All right. Now, the thing with patty melts is here's where the argument over to smash or not to smash comes in. Because the point with a patty melt is yes, you are supposed to smash it. So that's nice and easy. There's really nothing difficult about that, is there? And of course, yes, that does mean you are pressing out some of the liquid. I mean, that certainly is the case here, which is one reason why you want a nice, well-seasoned cast iron pan so that this thing doesn't stick too badly when you, especially when it comes time to flip it. And having done that, let me also, there we are. Sorry about that, folks. Always forget something, namely the seasoning, namely the salt and the pepper. And from there, what do we have for comments now? Okay, I'm fine, except, oh yeah, hey, hi, Papa Dan, nice to see you again. Coping with eye issues as best as I can. Eye procedures aren't until mid-February, so, well, the best I could say is sit back and relax, and let's watch the show. And I hope you enjoy it. And while we're doing that, let's at the same time here throw maybe just a wee bit more of this margarine here into this other pan that I've had here in the back. In fact, let's move this up a little bit. Maybe a little bit more, but only a little bit. So that way we can toast ourselves up some bread, shall we? Yeah, that's why I worry about burning butter and why I actually decided to use something different. Meanwhile, here, let's make sure this thing is nice and hot, shall we? There we go. I think we're off to a decent start. All right. Well, let's give this a try, shall we? Oops. And I can't say I blew it, but definitely did not turn out quite as good as I'd hoped. That's all right. That's the nice thing about a patty melt as opposed to a burger, is that we'll make it work. And I just realized I forgot something anyway. My bad. Namely, probably not enough fat and especially not enough cheese in there. So I think I'm going to have to fake it. Let's do this. Break this up. There we go. That's a little bit better. There we go. That might work. Told you my burgers have been only so-so, I'm afraid. And this is probably the reason why All I can do is make it work. After I flip it again, I will start toasting the bun there. So, and fake it till you make it, pretty much. Thanks for the clarification on the heat rings. Oh, yes. Yeah, namely that heat rings were, of course, meant for use with wood-burning stoves. I would love to get a hold of a favorite as I live just a few miles from Piqua. Is it Piqua or Piqua? I honestly do not know. And, well, the best I can say is to keep on looking, although I'm sure a lot of people will be doing that anyway. So, yeah, it'll still be yummy. Yes, exactly. That's what's the most important thing. That's the most important part of this. So, there we go, more or less. I am going to have to flip this one more time, one way or another. At which point, and this is really going to come apart, isn't it? Well, yeah, this is all coming apart. Well, all I can do after this is make another one and keep on practicing. My mistake, I think, was that I should have added that cheese in the beginning, not at the end. But we will see what happens with the next one. I better start getting out a plate to for these attempts here. All right, there we go. Now, meanwhile, once we do this, let's go from here, shall we? And of course, you've got to use thick bread, your Texas toast type of bread for this. Okay, roll it into a ball, then smash. Yeah, I may try that next time, so my fault. Well, we will work on it. As I said enough times, I am an amateur at this. I have never considered myself to be anything like a professional chef, and this is why. Besides, oh, definitely, oh yeah, no, this is not going to stay. I should probably just throw this into a bowl or something, which may not be a bad idea. Say that again? Yes, it came apart. All right. Okay, well, we will put this one aside so that, I mean, after all, there's still nothing wrong with it. We've got some tasty ground beef here. Oh, that's certainly possible, yes. All right. However, I'm not going to give up. Yeah. But anyway, feel free to comment, folks. As I said, MST3K comments, one-liners, what have you. I am the first to admit, as I said, that I am not the best at this. And really, criticizing is about the only way I can learn. Because if people don't tell me what I'm doing wrong, I'll never know. So, still, we are off to a decent start at least, because now at least we've got a fair amount of fat in the pan. I'll say that much. While I'm at it, better put this right now. Oh man. Oh, that's better. Oh man, I'm really off to a great start. Ugh. Great. Oh well, we'll give this another try too. All right. Back to square one here. Okay. Now, as pointed out, what we want to do here is gently roll these things into a ball. Yes, nice and good. There we go. Like so. Don't want it to be too kneaded, of course. There we go. Okay. And now, bam, in go. And then from here, let's bring something else out, shall we? Like a large cast iron press. And see what happens this time. There we go. There, let's see how it works this time. Only flip it one time. Yes. Okay. All right. While we're at it here, what were those little creatures in Little Abner comics that said "kick me"? Oh, you're talking about the shmoo, aren't you? So, smash it and don't touch it. Yes, yeah. Squish it. There you go. Okay. Well, here's my opinion. Once you got it in the pan, don't mess with it till you flip, and try and stick it together, even if it burns a little. Same after you flip. And the chaos begins. Yes, exactly. So, I mean, this is one of the fun things of trying to cook on a live video. As opposed to those edited videos there. Yeah, I have the same press. I picked it up in South Pittsburgh. Yeah, I've only had this for a while, and yeah, I really like this thing. This thing is one solid piece of cast iron. It does not have that handle, that moves back and forth. And I never liked those kind of presses. I much prefer one like this, so I'm actually quite happy to have that. Now, the other thing about a burger, what I do know, of course, is that we have to wait at least until just the edges look like they are starting to cook or starting to turn color. And that's when it's a good time to flip it over. That much I know at least. So how do you like cleaning that press after the bacon? It actually wasn't that hard. Okay, salt and pepper. Here we go again. Salt and pepper. And no, I'm not going to talk about sex, baby. Not going to talk about you and me. That's about the only salt and pepper song I know, unfortunately. Okay, I can't wait to check the Lodge Museum when they open it. Yes, that press is not too oppressive. You don't flip too early. Well, there is that. Okay, got advice here to flip it. Hey, look. I'm cooking and letting YouTube tell me how to cook. Let's see what the results are, as he says. Are you sure it's not too early? I think it might actually be a little early. But, as you say, damn it. It's stuck. There you go. Too early? Yep. Too early. Way too early. Way too early, unfortunately. So. Yes, that's what I had wanted to do, but I did listen when they said to flip it. Oh boy. Oh wow. Okay, yeah, about 4 minutes on each side. My first grilled cheese and smoked meat slice always turns out lousy, but I consider the kitchen staff perks. There is that. Okay, there are great antique stores all over the Wappick area. You just have to know where to look. Yes, exactly. I live just a few miles from Wappick in Sydney. So, oh well. Okay, well, obviously since I've done it, I've just got to keep working on it, and that's what I hope to do. We'll have to manage this somehow. I can smell it. Oops. Yes, exactly. Oops. That's what I get, I guess, for taking my cooking lessons from YouTube. Somebody said to flip it, and I flipped it. Well, we have some time yet. That's all I can say. We will get this thing to work right eventually. Anyway, I don't know. Do I really want this pan? Yeah, look at what a great job this pan is doing on this burger. Well, okay, here's a hint. It's not the pan, it's the cook. And no, this is another reason why, no, I am definitely not a chef. I mean, believe me, if I tried being a short order cook or chef or anything like that, I would be laughed out of the kitchen. There's no denying that. What I really need is experience more than anything else. So at this point, I'm going to hold tight a little longer. And the cheese is making it stick. Yeah, there was some residual cheese too. That's true. There's no denying that. By the way, while we're at it, let's do a little bit more salt and pepper, shall we? Salt and pepper. And over in this pan, on the other hand, oh yeah, I can only imagine the comments, and they are going to come saying, "Lord, boy, look at how well this guy can cook." Especially the people who I've had to ban from this channel in the last week or so. Folks may know about that little drama that occurred over the last few days, and one that I probably am not going to repeat. Well, okay, I'll say one thing and one thing only. I got a comment on on that YouTube comment section only tonight from some person who claims that the vaccine is the reason why Betty White and Bob Saget died. Yeah. And I'm not saying anything else. No, I'm not getting into that anymore. But right now, please don't touch it again until it's done. But that's the reason why, yeah, like it or not, I have had to kick some people off of this channel. When you win it, you can give it to me. Well, we can only hope so. Hello, Jose Latias. I'm only a month late. Poor spelling, yes. Okay, ghee makes burgers better, and so does cast iron, actually. Smash it harder. Well, we'll have to give that a try, so... Don't go down that rabbit hole. No, I'm not going down that rabbit hole. Not tonight. But that comment was so ridiculous, I did have to mention it here. And I'm not going to go into this any further. Meanwhile, at this point, I'm hoping we're getting to the point where I might actually be able to flip this now, this time. Largely because, the color is starting to change there on the side, I think. So I'd say at this point, I don't see any reason not to. Let's see what happens now. Well, not too bad, all things considered. While we're doing that, let's make another go at this, shall we? This time, let's do this right. And I'm going to do my best to make sure that I don't toast this too badly this time. Lodge makes a smashed burger press. It's recessed instead of flat. Oh, that sounds interesting. You may actually have to take a closer look at that. That could be the grade of ground meat you're using, too. Well, there is that. Yes, I am using 80-20. That is true. I'm told that you may actually want to use more fat than a piece of ground beef with more fat than 80-20, although it may seem a little hard to believe. Well, let's, flip this quickly. Yeah, maybe the temperature is up too high or something on this one. So, okay.
Make a ball, tack it super tight, and also when you make it, if you make it nice and thin,
right?
Because it's gonna shrink up anyway.
Well, there is that. I mean, there's no denying that.
Fred.
Yeah, I just did it only a second ago. Well, give me a second. Okay. Yes, I know. I know. Unfortunately, so. All right. However, we are at the point, like it or not, where I might as well try topping this. And boy, did I choose some interesting thing. All right, I went to Price Chopper, got myself some so-called American slices, and what I found out when I opened this up is that they are not individually wrapped. So I've actually got to try peeling these things off here. I think I may have peeled this one a little thick, in fact. But so it goes. All right, now let's take this out carefully. There we go. All right, maybe, well, not so bad. We will work on one more piece. And don't worry, folks, if you win these cast iron pans during the contest, number one, I will be cleaning these pans off before I ship them out. Number two, no, you don't have to eat the burgers. 70-30 sticks together better. Well, there is that. Of course, one other option would be to add a little bit more fat to the pan, too. So, almost got a patty melt there. Yeah, still working on it, I'm afraid. Toast looks great. Well, yeah. This time I'm doing my best to be careful not to overdo it. Pop a lid on to melt the cheese. Hey, that's not a bad idea. And actually, let me show you something. I'll bring this over here. I guess you might call this a selling point on this ugly hammered pan, even though I'm not selling it. This is a Lodge 10-inch lid, the kind that you can get anywhere. It fits on this like a glove. I mean, it's practically exact. The only difference is that there is a very, very. So let me move this over to the side one bit. Come on. Oh yeah. Here's one. A very, very minuscule gap here of the pour spout here of the pan as opposed to the large lid. Otherwise, this large lid fits practically perfect. So, in other words, if you win this pan and you have yourself a large lid, then you've got nothing to worry about. Let's get this going again. I just can't seem to win, can I? And I have turned the heat down a little bit too. Well, all I can do is keep practicing. Maybe by the time this video is over, we might actually do better. So thank you very much for the donation. I wasn't asking for it. And I guess I should also say monetary donations will not improve your chance of winning. This is a fair and honest contest. And I do understand, no, you're not doing it in any way to try to influence the contest. I certainly do understand that. And I'm not accusing you otherwise. But I think just to be fair to everyone, I should mention that. All right, there we go. Let's get this out there. Okay, not too bad for toast. So, having said that, the other thing we need to do is put a few of these caramelized onions on here, because that's the reason why we made these. Oh yeah, those caramelized onions are doing pretty good, at least. I'll say that much. But now at this point, let's take off the lid. Oh yeah, there we go. It's definitely time to pop it off. Where did I just put that? How do I lose these things so fast? Crap. Well, yeah. I might have used a little bit too much cheese, so like it or not, here's my first burger or patty melt, however you call it. Not too bad, I guess. The least I can do is say is that likely it's edible. So, I mean, as much as I would like to say more than edible, that's how I think it turned out. Plop. So there we are. We are off to a start. Now at this point, as you can see, it looks like we're going to have to scrape this off, unfortunately. Yeah. Well, that's actually not so hard. That's the nice thing, again, about a nice seasoned cast iron pan, is that it's not too hard to clean off this residue. There we go. It's really because of the burned cheese more than anything else. Or brown cheese, as some people may call it. Let's throw that in here with this extra ground beef so that we don't waste it. All right. Having done that, okay, as I mentioned before, we are again in the middle of a contest as well. The winner of the contest will win this set of 1, 2, and 3 ugly hammered pans. They're all going to go to one winner because I feel it would be much better for any person to own the entire set. And let's see what else we can do meanwhile here. Right now, let's throw together some more of our meat, shall we? Do this right. There we go. And what else can we say now but voila. On we go. And press nice and hard. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. Press the heck out of it. Oops, maybe too much, in fact. Oh boy. So having said that, this time we're going to wait until this thing is definitely cooked on the underside. We're going to wait at least until the color reaches all the way around the edges. So, hey, chainmail works. You're still right about the burnt cheese. That's the cook's share, as my nana would say. Yes, indeed. It's a reminder again for everybody to be kind enough. Oh, got a little grease on this, but that's okay. Be sure to be entered into this contest. Please click the subscribe button to subscribe to this channel. And please kindly be sure to type the secret word in this chat at least once. The contest will end when the live video ends. And furthermore, please spell the secret word. Typing numbers will not be accepted by the algorithm. So looks like we need more grease. Well, that's my worry. So what I probably should do, in fact, is throw in a little grease. So let's throw in a little bacon grease and see what happens. Yeah. This time I'm going to have to wait and see until this is all, yeah. I'm not going to flip this until it looks like it is properly done on the sides, unfortunately. Sorry?
That's not going to take
You don't think so?
No.
Probably not. Well, okay, yeah. I did press it down. This little clump came off and I had to put it back on, unfortunately. So,
All right.
yeah, so far my track record in doing these things has been so-so. But nonetheless, even so, and of course, if you want to put ketchup or anything on that, so bacon grease makes everything taste better. Yeah, exactly. As Jose Latia says about tolerance there. So at this point, eventually I'll graduate to the point where I might be able to make 2 burgers at a time. But right now, all I can do is keep on practicing. So I appreciate everybody for everybody's patience there. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know. I mean,
I forgot to tell you, if you freeze burger, you can't. Even if you're frosting it, once you frozen burger, it doesn't go back together for some reason.
Yeah. Okay, Pawpaw 10. By the time that you cook for each one of us 172 viewers, you are cooking them down pat. Yeah, that's about right. And there's a chance of you cooking 172 burgers. Yeah, we've got 172 people watching on the chat right now. So, of course, the giveaway contest is certainly helping. Hello, and Pawpaw Dan's here, and he says hi. Yeah. Pawpaw Dan's next eye treatment will be in mid-February. Yes. So, yeah.
Well, good luck with that.
Yes, indeed.
I'm gonna go eat.
Reminds me of an I Love Lucy show. Well, fortunately, I don't have to eat these. Yeah, I mean, I remember the candy episode, which was indeed. Sorry? Well, we can see and see what happens, but I'm not going to force you, so. Okay, meanwhile, I'd say this might very well be coming up on the side. Oh, hey, that doesn't look so bad. Could you hold that in front of the camera? Okay, thank you. Well, yeah, guess what, folks? Here's the first patty melt. You know, that doesn't look so bad.
It was perfect.
Okay.
Yep.
So, all things considered, it could have been a lot worse. So, thank you for the encouragement. Speaking of encouragement, I think now is the point where I may end up ruining this, because I think we are at the point where we need to flip this.
Yeah, you should put the burger back in the fridge. While you put it here.
Crap. All right. If you'd like. Well, let me step to the side.
Okay,
excuse me.
Okay.
There we go.
You need to hold this. You need to hold the pan, not the spatula.
Okay.
Okay.
Actually, that doesn't look too bad.
No, it only needs a couple. It only needs like a minute or so.
Okay. Well, in that case, then 2 things. Better throw on the cheese and another piece of bread. Oh, you're starting another one already?
No, I'm just making for
starting
you.
another. Okay.
Yeah, see how all the liquid coming out of it?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's frozen.
Please. A little bit here. And as I said before, this is why we're getting cheap cheese. These are not individually wrapped slices. I have to try peeling them off separately. But at least they are real cheese. They are not lard cheese. So a little bit of that. Time to break this out again. Here's the lodge pan. Okay, yes.
Nice and thin.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You put it down and it's going to shrink up anyways, you know?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All
And
right.
you season it while it's on right there.
Yes, exactly. So
Mhm.
off to not a bad start. And let me say again, by the way, here's again. This is one thing I like about this particular pan. As I mentioned already, this large lid fits
Oh, I got brown
perfectly.
cheese on me.
Well, help yourself to that. Maybe on the nights you cook, Jamie should monitor the screen or help cook while you chat.
No, it doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
It's never seen. We.
Because I have to. It's hard to shout out every question. You know what I mean?
Well, there is that.
Um.
Oh,
Yeah.
bread is burning. Crap.
Yeah.
I did it again. You're right. Oh boy. I really got to work on this, unfortunately. I don't know. Maybe I should get myself a toaster.
Yeah.
What a
or maybe
concept.
Just make the burgers.
Yes.
And it's okay to taste bread only taste comments. Plus, you're only making one piece of bread at a time, which is not really conducive to what you need to be doing.
Well, there is that.
Yeah.
Okay, let me put this one aside.
Mhm.
Okay. In addition, even though I don't have the heat on this one turned up very high, maybe I should turn it down just a
Bring it
wee
down
bit.
to 2.
Sorry?
Right on, please.
Okay.
You got
There we
butter.
go.
Are you buttering it?
All right.
Are you buttering it, Liz?
Yes.
The bread?
So, yes.
Margarine?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, that didn't take long, did it? Yeah. So,
Oh, but Gianni, we don't want to take a second with the lid on it.
okay. Oh, yeah. Thank
No.
you. You're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Hold this.
Yep.
Okay. That means, well, not too bad, all things considered. Put this over here. All I can do is scrape it off again. No, that's okay.
No, I don't want you to put it on here.
There we go. Oh, you want the cheese?
Yes, I do.
She wants the cheese. Okay. Here's.
Ah,
Oh, you're. Yeah.
Christ.
Yes. Sorry. Okay, we'll put it over here. All right.
Sorry.
Well, at this point, all I can do is try again and flip this bread again. Oh, a little better. All right.
Wait, no, that's the bread one back there?
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
turn that way down.
Yeah.
Yeah, way down. 2,
Okay.
right to 2.
Okay.
Right to 2.
Yeah, I'm turning it down. All right. Well, all we could do is make another attempt, folks. And yeah, this time, check this out. We've got ourselves a nice flat patty already. And so, bam.
You've got a lot of really good heat going on that pan, too.
What?
Leave it be. Yep. It's already flat. You didn't have to press it.
That's all we need?
You didn't even have to press it. It's already flat.
All right. We will go from there and see what happens next.
Yep. Leave it be.
Yes, leave it be. Let's get this out of here.
Perfect.
Ooh, that's not so bad either. It might be starting to improve, maybe a little bit. So let's put this on here. And thank you very much for observing my futile attempts at, well, again, just simply cooking all American burgers here. I'm not too bad at making things like pasta sauces. I've made some pretty good stews. I definitely need to practice my frying, probably more than anything else. So, can't help moving it around. Yeah. Bread needs butter under it in the pan to make it golden and crispy. Yes,
That's why I
okay.
have to be doing butter.
You were correct there. All right, let me quickly pull this out.
Just like you do with grilled cheese, you know what I mean?
No, there is that.
Just put it right in the pan.
Put it right in the pan.
Yep.
All right.
You can just use the bread up.
And a little bit there and a little bit here.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Boy, at this point, I can only imagine. I'm figuring how long is it going to be before I get onto those worst YouTube cooking channels? Okay, Turner Fowler, maybe. The burger gods are with you. Well, I can only hope so. I mean, if nothing else, I'm providing some entertainment. I certainly won't deny that.
I'm a burger god for Jamie's here.
Yeah, that's how I do my burgers. Yeah, I got. And somebody mentioned, let me slow this up a little bit, about a Griswold and a Wagner here. And we've got, yeah, I got Griswold that it's Wagner. Oh, also Lodge will fit. Oh, yeah, you're talking about the lid. definitely at this point. So, he had spaghetti. Would rather have had a burger.
You don't want to press too much. You have to press the juices out of a burger.
Mm-hmm. Now that's looking not too bad. All right.
Trying to get some color from the side.
Okay. Okay. Well, thanks to you, we are definitely starting to get a real warm up here. This is definitely looking like much more of an improvement. I will say that. At this point, I may have to do another video just about burgers here, and do it right as opposed to not right.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you very much. You've definitely shown me how to do it. And I think I've shown you how not to do it.
Yeah, you probably have to do plenty of other things, though.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your help with that. Okay. Now that we've done that. Yes, it is, isn't it? So.
At least I can see you, unlike I did at the demo job.
All right. Fortunately.
And that's actually not enough, so you need a couple minutes on there.
Okay.
I could just slap some cheese on it.
Yes, exactly. Oh, actually, we've managed to do patty melt number 2. Just slap this on. Here's patty melt number 2. That's okay. All right. I think it's time now for the cheese. And like you said, we'll only need to do this for a minute or so.
You're going to put this on the lid. You guys want to know a neat trick? You want to see a really neat trick?
What's a really neat trick?
Ready? Just a tiny.
Oh, yes. That
Dash of water.
That trick, yes. Steaming it. It definitely helps to melt the cheese. I've done that myself. All right. Well, as I said, professional chef, I am not. But all I can do is keep practicing.
Look at that.
And bam. That only took a few seconds.
That's a short order cook there for you guys.
There we go. I can only thank you so much.
You're welcome. I've only made like 6,000 burgers in my life.
Keep that one aside. Quickly flip this. Ooh, not yet. Not yet, actually. Believe it or not, it's actually cooled down a little bit. And I think we'll get to one more. So anyway, what else can I say? I mean, as I said, we've been using an ugly hammered cast iron pan here, which has a really, really nice smooth surface to it. They definitely, I don't know if you could say they polished these things down. I mean, they're not glass smooth like the polished Griswolds and Wagners were, yet these things are definitely very, very smooth, which is another reason why people like them. Even though they're thick and heavy and have a primitive look to them, there's really no difficulty at all with cleaning these off. Let's throw in just a wee bit more bacon grease. Let's prepare ourselves one more patty. And we are actually starting to get into time here. I'm sorry? Okay. Yes. All right, there we go. Pack it in nice and good. Yes, I'm doing my best. Nice and tight, as you say. And now at this point, I think all we can do is give it a smack down. And it looks like I may not have pressed it down enough. So here's hoping that this doesn't ruin it. Oh, that's not so bad. Yeah, I think we may have it this time. Check this once again. Aha. I think we're finally starting to get somewhere. Maybe I should start this video over at this point. Try putting mayo on the bread. Yeah, that is certainly worth it. Jamie could have been around on those first couple of burgers. Yeah, now tell me about it. Hopefully roasting a turkey is what... Yeah. Yes, indeed. You're not the only one who's going to be roasting a turkey this weekend. In fact, I've got a little story to tell about that I will be telling when I make another turkey this weekend. So, Ivor, Mactin, Daisy Bravo, gonna track down a long-handled Foley set of utensils one of these days. Best of luck. So, leave the press on. No, that's probably not necessary. Yeah, exactly. As she points out, that would press the juices out of it. As it stands right now, I think this one is finally starting to cook the way we want it to cook. Speaking of which, let's get this out of the way here.
And you have a slip that needs to come up real fast.
Okay.
Although you did that burger kind of tight.
Well, that's
Gotta spatula it a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah, the burger needs to be tighter next time.
All right.
You definitely want to wait till you have some color coming up around the sides on this. When you want to flip it, let me know, okay?
All right,
You want me to do it for you?
Will do. Okay. But even so, finally starting to get some practice in. So thank you again for that. Throw in another piece of so-called Texas toast. It's curious why Texas toast costs more than regular sandwich bread. Is it simply the same bread sliced thicker, or is there actually something in the way that it's made that requires it to be done at a higher price? Yay, I like to cook it on 3 on an electric stove. If at first you don't succeed, eat some more. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to work on that. So, but nonetheless, we're finally starting to get to the point where I had hoped to be, in that we actually have a couple of burgers here, ones that don't look too bad, all things considered. And they were done again on these ugly hammered pans, which is again, if nothing else, though, I have enjoyed myself doing this. I'm not going to say otherwise. This has been fun, despite my mistakes, and I made plenty of mistakes tonight. How about this? I make the mistakes so that you don't have to. Let's try it that way, shall we? And I wonder if this is one reason why a lot of these cast iron videos show people restoring cast iron and identifying cast iron and collecting cast iron, but not so much in the way of cooking in cast iron. If anything, I would like to see more cast iron cooking videos here on YouTube and otherwise. I mean, granted, if you do a search for cast iron on YouTube, there is no shortage of people making, well, burgers and steaks and eggs and burgers and steaks and chicken and burgers and steaks, and you get the idea. Not as many people use their pans to make ratatouille or make themselves a nice Indian curry, for instance, um, as well as doing a pork roast in cast iron, things like that. Hi, Sam Cook. Yeah, nice. Actually, I think this is my first time seeing you. In fact, burgers in Japan often contain a mix of beef and pork. Beef is expensive. Yes, it is. What? Yes, they do. And of course, in Japan, they often serve it with a fried egg on top. Hambagu. Still, we're not doing too badly here. Spring Rubber, I worked with a born and bred Texan and said he'd never heard of Texas toast until he lived in Virginia. Yeah, I believe that. I mean, this is one of those cultures.
And everything in Texas is big.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, there is that.
It's not because it's made in Texas, because it's big.
Right. As she says, they call it Texas toast because it's big, and so everything in Texas is supposed to be big. Of course, this could be like one of those cultural things where they call it that everywhere in the country except in the place where it originally supposedly came from. I've seen a fair amount of that, actually. I mean, if you go abroad and if you look in other countries, you'd be amazed at the stuff that they call American food. Basically, it seems like around the world, they consider the hot dog to be the ultimate American food, because if they want to make an American dish in places like France or Sweden or Brazil, if they want to make an American dish, they add hot dogs to it, pretty much no matter what it is. In Italy, they have an American pizza with hot dogs on it. Yeah, that's something I'm gonna come back to at some point soon. So, ivermectin. I try not to cook anything acidic in cast iron. That's what stainless steel is, tomato sauce and such. Well, that's also what enamel cast iron is for too. Let me. Oh yeah, I haven't actually seasoned this yet. Let me do that. Oh, here's the salt. And then once we do that, we will get down to the flip and continue from there. So, as she says, just give it a nice. Yeah. Oh, that's actually not bad. Hey, nice. And I did this one myself too. I think this may be the first burger I've made that might actually turn out the way it's supposed to look. And yes, another reminder as well, this contest will end when this live video ends. And that's when we'll start gathering up all the people who have typed the secret word into this chat. Well, that plus being sure to subscribe to this channel. So, yeah, the secret word is dedicated to the weather that we've been having in many parts of the country, because after all, it is January. Who'd ever thought that the temperature would get this cold in January? How about that? So, although Papa Dan says it's raining again on my side of the creek. And hello, old-fashioned coffee pot. I made a chicken vindaloo with a turkey thigh in a number 11 cast iron pan 2 nights ago. My seasoning shrugged off the acids from the food in my pan. That sounds good. That really sounds good. It sounds like I would I would certainly call that a success then. And yes, that does mean that a well-seasoned cast iron pan can make things like that, high acid dishes. Not very often, but once in a while. Okay, good. Let's put this large lid back on one more time, and we only need to do it for about a minute or so. Speaking of which, at last, we're getting close to a nice piece of toast here, which means let's put a few more of these caramelized onions on here. Wow, this piece of bread is hot. And that means we're actually getting somewhere with our burgers. Despite my mishaps, we are actually managing to get ourselves a few decent burgers here. So things are not doing too badly, especially since I better quickly put the next piece of toast on, because we are already ready for what is probably the last burger. There we go. That did not take long at all, did it? Let's get this out of here as quickly as we can. And we are not off to a bad start at all. I think I can, in fact, I can even turn off the heat here and start scraping this one down. So, as we mentioned enough times already, what we have in action here is an ugly hammered cast iron skillet, which, as you can see, is scraping off very nicely. No difficulty at all. I've only had this one since about last September or so. I've only cooked in it a couple of times, and yet, as you can see, it seems to be holding the seasoning very nicely. Get rid of this charred residue here. And it's really not going to be difficult at all to clean this pan off either before we ship it out to the winner. So that's certainly one reason why a lot of people enjoy these ugly hammered pans, despite the fact that they've been given the name ugly hammered pans. I mean, a lot of people, when we call them that in the cast iron cooking community and collecting community, some people always seem to get offended because, it's not an ugly pan. Well, no, really, it's not. But as I said before, it has more of a primitive look and feel to it, more primitive than anything else. I should have buttered this beforehand. There we go. Now it's getting somewhere. and a little bit more on the top, and then we should be all set here. But as we said, it's really just called ugly, largely because, well, because everybody calls them ugly pans, because they've got a very simple look to them. One other story I guess I should mention from the really, really early days of the cast iron cooking group, when I didn't know any better, and this is more proof that I do not consider myself to be an expert. In the earliest days, when I was first getting into this hobby, and I saw hammered pans for the first time, yes, I did think that they actually beat the pan itself with a hammer during the casting process in order to give it that look. I thought that until I was taught otherwise. And at one point on the cast in the earliest days of the cast iron cooking group, somebody actually threw a temper tantrum over that. Actually, it had more to do with the fact that he was an obnoxious jerk, and he ended up getting kicked off of the group for that reason. But he then decided that he essentially would try to insult me as best as he could. And one of the things he liked to say a lot was that I actually thought that people beat these pans with a hammer. And as I said, in my earliest days, and this was years ago, yes, I did do that. I've learned my lesson since then, and I hope he has too. All right. But getting back to that, I have a hammered Dutch oven. Nice. Billy Lee Lawton, Lobbin. Lobbin? Oh, Lon. I can't pronounce it. Lay one. And does your hammered Dutch oven have any markings? I mean, you might be able to identify it. It could be a Wagner, could even be a Lodge, as well as an ugly hammered. If it has the same design as this probably means that probably means your pan is an ugly hammered Dutch oven, which is a really nice thing to have, by the way, as I mentioned, since these things are so heavy and thick and very smooth too. And I assume these pans were made using the lost wax method. Well, it's hard to say because, well, as we mentioned already, nobody knows who actually made these pans, and that's where the theory, as we talked about at the beginning of this video, the theory that these may have been made with prison labor comes in, but we don't have any proof of that. Any written proof, that is, other than rumor. The how and why the hammered effect. Well, how is actually pretty easy. The pattern that was used for shaping the molds was obviously given that look. They probably did, in fact, run a hammer over the pattern, especially to produce that look. So that part is actually not difficult. Why is harder to say, especially since nobody knows the manufacturer of these pans. I've stated my theory already that I believe these were influenced by the Art Deco fad of the 1930s or so, because I'd say, why not? Considering that that was a popular fashion in those days, that may very well be the case. And I think I can get this out of the pan now. We can turn this down. Actually, not yet, because I've got one more piece of Texas toast to put together, and then we will finally be done. Because we've done a total of, well, 4.5, I guess you could say, patty melts. My first one that came apart completely. There we go. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I also very much appreciate everybody for sticking around. I hope this hasn't been too boring a session. I do my best to try to entertain folks, as you can see, not just with my pratfalls and my little screw-ups here and teaching you how not to make burgers, but also I'm hoping that, talking about the history of these cast iron pans is folks do find this interesting, or at least I hope so. Rachel Stratman, I agree with the theory of the Art Deco influence. My mom had a set of hammered Guardian service pans, but they were aluminum. Oh, yes, I have seen those too, and I do agree that the hammered pattern is very nice. So I've been wanting one of those for a long time. Never seen one in northern Louisiana. What size? Well, this is actually a set of 3 pans, and again, the winner is going to get all 3 pans. I am not giving one each to 3 separate people. I feel it would actually be much more appealing if one person had a whole set of these. That is why we have a number 3. Let me do this right. We have a number 3 ugly hammered. We flip this over quickly. Yeah, still not yet. Oh well. Well, I'll just keep going. We have a number 5 ugly hammered. And finally, we have been making the caramelized onions and these burgers in a number 8. Can't even, there we go. In a number 8 ugly hammered pan. And yes, the winner of this contest, which ends when this live video ends, will be receiving all 3 of these pans in a set. So, by the way, the handle of these pans, all of these, the handle is just about the same length. The number 3 has a more smooth handle and definitely a thinner handle, whereas the 5 and the 8 seem to be practically identical in the handle, in that the handle here, we do this right, has this interesting divot on the inside. I can't even pick this up right, can I? Let's try it this way. There, that might work. It has this interesting divot on the down there, which actually helps to make this easy to identify. It's a little bit thicker than the number 3, yet the number 8 and the number 5, the handle is almost identical in size. Almost. It looks different when compared to the size of the pans themselves. And did I? No, I do still have this one on the heat. So, Ivor McTin peg tooth. Yes, that's the right answer. I think this is the method that is used on the current production high and French cast iron. It's a stack of about 30 pans waiting to be cleaned. Oh, good luck to that. Can we see the handle on the wok spatula, please? Certainly. Let me dig that out here. As usual, I've made something of a mess. Oh, here it is. Here we are. This, as I mentioned, is the wok spatula that I found one fall at Brimfield. The handle is very similar to what we see for a lot of these type of designs. This actually is a folded steel wok spatula. You can see how the underside shows the definite folded steel, and it goes into a hollow end where we have a piece of wood stuck in, and actually I glued it, in fact. So I managed to score this wok spatula for $5 at Brimfield, and after soaking it in the lye tank for the entire winter and then cleaning it off, this thing here, I've really enjoyed using this, and I consider this to be quite a special piece, even though I have no idea of its age. It has markings on it that actually say it was made in Hong Kong, which means it's the genuine item. But beyond that, I really do not know anything about the age of this. I do know, however, that it is not stainless steel. If I don't keep this thing oiled properly, it will rust. So I just have to be careful like that. And having said that, come on, why is this thing not toasting now after doing so well? Oh, there we go. Now we're starting to get somewhere at last. So, and once this is done and we have our last patty melt in, I think we will be ready to sign off, because I can only hope that folks have been interested enough to actually enter the contest. And as I mentioned already, to type the secret word into this chat. You only need to type it in once, but if you have not typed it in yet, please be sure to type the secret word into this chat. Then from there, we will gather the results starting when the video ends, and we will then use a random number generator to determine the actual winner of the set of 3 cast iron pans. And like every time when this live is over, I have a mess to clean up, because cooking burgers, as you know, is not cooking session. Yeah, that's a good word for it, I think. Please do not say lessons. I'm not sure if that counts. But yes, why don't you season that spatula to prevent it from rusting? Well, in fact, I have. Well, granted, I have not actually baked it in the oven the way I could have, partly because it has a wooden, a wooden dowel stuck into the end of it. But I found it to be sufficient to just make sure that, much like the carbon steel knives, I just keep this thing oiled all the time. And that actually has served it well, because, as you can see, and there does not really seem to be any trace of rust on this. So I'm actually quite happy with it the way it is. And having said that, yes. Okay, I think we're almost there. Just another minute or so. Let's turn this up a little bit, because this still doesn't seem to be getting anywhere. Live long and prosper. Yes, exactly. So Mark Ace Steele Sr., as you say. I'm at a loss for words. Anyway, one other thing, I guess, and that is next week's video. Well, a couple of weeks ago, when the subject came up, a lot of people started saying potatoes, and I have not forgotten. So I'm going to do what I can next week in our live video we will be doing some potatoes here in cast iron. We can make fries, we can make mashed potatoes, we might even try baked potatoes, home fries, and we will see what happens then. And I'm looking forward to it, because I certainly do love my potatoes. Potatoes, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. And Billy Lee Lawhunt, I can't pronounce it. I'm getting a she shed for my cast iron. The 1910 farmhouse is starting to tilt. Ouch, on the way to the pans. Yeah, I believe that. If you're not careful, that could very well happen. They sell them in Chinatown. All right, please bake twice baked potatoes. I will certainly look into that. Do you have a CHF hammered piece? I do not, I have to be honest. In my travels, well, we could do that. Yes. In my travels, I have seen a number of Chicago Hardware Foundry pieces, always selling at incredibly high prices. I have not yet been able to score a CHF hammered piece. And as I've said enough times, my collection is so big. For me to actually get one of those pieces, as appealing as they are, I think for me, it may have to be one at a price that I simply would not be able to pass up. So who knows? BS&R, Birmingham Stove and Range, something about that name. Yeah, well, BS&R certainly is my favorite foundry, and the majority of my collection are pieces, in fact, from BS&R, and I certainly am not regretting that. Try shredded potatoes. Just use a cheese grater and shred right into the pan. Well, we will see what happens. We have another week for that, I guess. Just ordered a Lodge burger press. Well, I don't think you will regret it. I really like how that burger press turned out. Okay, there we are at last. So I think we are finally all set for the last of these patty melt burgers. And all things considered, despite everything, these managed to turn out not so bad. So we've got some burgers here. We've had some entertainment, I guess you could call it that. Excuse me one second while I quickly rinse off my hands. Got a little bit of grease on them. And having said that, I can only once again appreciate everybody, and let me bring this up again. Yeah, because as I said, I can only appreciate again everybody who does turn into this channel. I mean, as I've said enough times, I'm not a professional chef. I'm not expecting anybody to be coming to this channel to learn how to cook. After 10 years, I'm still 11 years, I'm still learning how to cook. There's some things I do have gotten the hang of. I mean, like, for instance, I like making stews and braised dishes in my cast iron. Some things I still need a lot of practice with, like burgers, for instance. Short order stuff, definitely. I definitely need to do more practice of that, and I guess all I can do is keep on practicing, which is what I certainly intend to keep on doing, because it's fun, probably more than anything else. So, and most importantly, I've said this before, and this is definitely the mantra that I'm proud of. And that is, of course, in cooking, there are a few disasters and many learning experiences. Of course, we can still eat the learning experiences. And so I don't see why we can't just keep on practicing until we finally get it right, or until I finally get it right. You folks here, I'm sure a lot of you are gladly pointing out my mistakes, and please feel free to do so. As I said, all I can do is learn and keep on practicing. And having said that, though, I think we are getting into time again. I mean, after all, we are at good grief, an hour and 39 minutes here. Mix some chicken bouillon granules into your mashed potatoes. That may very well happen next week. That actually sounds like a good plan there. But even so, we do have to get going because, well, number one, it is a work night for a lot of people, myself included. And number two, of course, well, I've got this mess to clean up. And number three, we've got a contest to finish. Let me say again, this is your last chance to everybody to type the secret word into this chat if you have not done so already. And please be sure to subscribe to the channel. By doing both of these, you will be entered into the contest, which, as I mentioned, is meant to promote this channel, is not being sponsored by anyone other than myself. And I'm really just doing this for the fun of it, and to try to and to try to expand the reach of my channel, which I can only hope that everybody enjoys. What? Yeah, drop some likes, she says. So, and having said that, again, thank you everybody for showing up here. You know, Terry Sinchef, Old Fashioned Coffee Pot, Gary F, Turner Fowler, Rick Hartkey, Clico. I can't pronounce it right. I still can't pronounce it right. And Fryman, yeah, you sound like the type of guy who I could have used some help from tonight. Fat Butts Barbecue, yeah, I like big butts and I cannot lie. Dave Evely or Evely, Red Deck Barbecue, Coastal Gardening, JD, and everyone. Thank you so much for dropping by. Again, this contest will end when the live chat ends. So thank you, everybody, for your time. And above all else, keep safe, everybody. You know, these are tough times right now. And with that, I guess all I could say is see you next Wednesday. Have a good evening. All right, I have to keep this going for a moment because I found I need to actually save the log of this. Oops, oh, there we go. So, what? All right, we're good. That's all I can do. Still, have a good evening, folks.